be nice to see your face, Jeff. How are you? Nice to be back.
How's it going? Feels good.
Feels good. I mean, don't ask me how I'm doing. How are you doing? Trust me, a lot of listeners has been asking, how is Jeff? What is happening? Well, I don't want to get into too much. We'll give you 3 minutes. What happened to you in the last month? Please, I want to hear all about it.
Well, I mean, I won't go too much into the birth, but it's definitely an interesting experience. I highly suggest everyone go through it at least once. That's mostly at you, Joe. But no, I mean, every day is kind of very interesting. You're learning more about him and learning more about yourself and each other. And I don't think I would trade this experience for anything. It's I don't know, nothing can prepare you for it. Let's just put it that way.
A lot of emotional roller coasters.
Oh, definitely. Because I mean, it's like the communication is very limited. So, when they cry, your heart is like, oh, like what's going on? And you just want to do something to help. But it's just like a phase, and everyone goes through it. I'm sure when you and I were babies, like, we went through the same thing, and our parents probably went through the same thing too. So, yeah, but everything's going pretty well. He's big boy.
Jasper, right? Ning?
Yeah. He's about he came out, I think 7.25 or 7.75 pounds, 52 centimeters. So apparently he's like just slightly above average, but we'll see. I'm still rooting to have that NBA player down the road, but we'll just have to make sure we feed him the right diet from here on out.
And Taekwondo, so he learns how to jump.
He's definitely not doing Taekwondo, and I'm sorry if he ever had to.
No, never. And how's Nika? Nika's doing well?
Yeah, she's doing very well, actually recovering very, very quickly. Honestly, like every day she's a reminder of how strong she is, and really, really an inspiration for me. And any woman who's going through birth, like, kudos to you.
I can see that the last month gave you a lot of appreciation. It seems like you grew up quite a bit in the last month.
That's what they all say.
That's what they all say. That's what I say. Last question, and then we'll move on to the podcast. I can tell by your voice. Tell me, how many hours of sleep are you getting every single night?
It varies. I'll say 5 is amazing. 2 is more. 2 to 3 is average.
Straight or broken up?
We had one that was like 5 hours straight, which was very nice.
Wow, godsend for a situation of yours.
Yeah. But actually, the 2 or 3 is spaced out, like 1 or 2 every now and then. It actually is not that bad. I think it's just like as long as you have the right support system and like you're there for each other. And I can't imagine like a single parent doing this. Is like extremely tough. Like,
yeah, no, I can imagine. Well, I guess we'll summarize by what is obviously having Jasper come out to the world is great. But what is one of the biggest life lessons that you learned in last month? Just one sentence is fine.
Well, I don't understand why it's an interview about parenthood.
And we're changing our podcast, Parenting 101.
Yeah, hey, that might be popular too. I feel like one sentence to summarize parenthood in the last little bit here. Just let go of all expectations.
I like that. Really, really like that. Whatever expectation you have, throw that crap right out of the window because you never expect for something.
No, and like just like every single person is different. Like you and I are so different. Every single baby is a little bit different too. So I think actually one of the nurses might have said that to me about, just not having any expectations, because knowing that every single baby is different, and it'll really ease your anxiety and stress. And I think that's a very good tip.
Don't worry, you're prepared for it because no 2 real estate transactions is ever the same, right?
Exactly.
All right, that's enough for that talk. Well, it's really nice to have you on, Jeff. I mean, one of the other reasons why I think it's really nice is because this might potentially be the last podcast we're doing for the year, as we're entering into December. I mean, I guess all really depends on whether or not we get any worth noting news that we need to do a news update for the month of December. But just like everything else in the world, December generally gets pretty slow. So my expectation at this point right now is we'll probably see each other in January right after this podcast. I haven't been seeing you in real life for like it's been like it's at least a
At least
month.
a
But I
month,
feel like
I think.
it feels a little bit longer than that now.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
from seeing each other like every probably 3-4 times a week.
Feel like what the hell's going on? I haven't seen this guy in a little bit. But no, I want to take this opportunity to thank our listeners. You know, it's another year. This is our episode 42, Jeff, or 43?
43, I think.
43. Sorry, I think it's 43. 1.5 years down, many years more to go. It's been quite a journey. I learned a lot through the podcast that we did this year, even though the frequency is not as much as the year before. But I think that we can condense it and then bring it to something that a lot of people is more willing to hear and willing to participate. So without further ado, once again, thanks to our listeners, but let's start off with November numbers. I guess I'll start first as per usual, sales activities. For the month of November of 2023, we had a total of 1702 sales. That is a 4.7% increase from November of 2022. But it is a 14.7% decrease from last month. And I'll talk about that number as we kind of have our comments. In comparison to our 10-year average, 1,700 sales is 33% below our 10-year average. That is definitely we'll talk about all of this, but go ahead with the price.
Yeah, noteworthy for sure. In terms of pricing for November of 2023, we were sitting at $1,850,100, and that is a 4.9% increase from November of last year, but a 1% decrease from last month.
That's a pretty big dip. But anyways, going on to inventory. Monthly inventory, we had a total of 3,369 new homes listed. That is a 9.8% increase from last year, November, but a 27.77% decrease from last month. We'll talk about it. It's not as scary as you thought. And in comparison to the 10-year average, we are 3.7% below the 10-year average for new monthly listings. Now, for total inventory, we're now sitting at 10,931 total inventory at the end of November. That is a 13.5% increase to November of last year, but a 5.75% decrease to last month. At 10,931 homes listed, that is actually 3.7% above the 10-year average.
Okay. And moving on to sales to active ratio, overall sales to active ratio, we're sitting at 16.3%, divided into 12.7% for detached houses, 19.8% for townhouses, and 18.2% for condos.
And for rentals, as of today is what, December the 8th. We don't have a rental report out from our sources, LiveRent or rentals.ca. So generally, when we don't have the report, we go to the expert that we have, which is you. I know that you might be a little bit now, but I know that before, all the babies and stuff, you were kind of tracking rentals. What do you think it's going to happen? Well, what do you think happened for rentals in November of 2023 to the best of your understanding?
Yeah, my best guess would to say that it probably went through another decrease. Maybe not as significant as like, $40, but probably around $20 or so. That is my estimate.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because I think I always go back to that one phrase that you said is nobody wants to move during the wintertime. So why would anyone be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's wet, it's cold, the roads are like slippery. You know, people in Vancouver, majority of them can't drive. So
well, it's funny that you said it's wet and dry. This November, not to get off track a little bit, the weather has actually been quite decently well. It's been quite sunny, I have to say.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that global warming, right?
I posted on IG the other day. I was like, well, we're gonna be sunny like this. Don't get me wrong. I jog every morning outside. I appreciate it, but next summer we're gonna have some water restrictions. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but back into it. I guess as per usual, Jeff, if you want to take the honors, let's see what Andrew has to say with our numbers this month.
Yeah, I feel like the amount of times that we talk about this guy, it's like we actually know him, but I don't even know what his face looks like. All right. And quote, we've been watching the numbers of active listings in our market increase over the past few months, which is giving buyers more to choose from than they've been used to seeing over the past few years. When paired with a seasonal slowdown in sales, we typically see this time of year. This increase in supply is creating balanced conditions across Metro Vancouver's housing market. A balanced market conditions typically come with flatter price trends, and that's what we've seen in the market since the summer months. These trends follow a period where prices rose over 7% earlier in the year. And you probably won't find Cyber Monday discounts, but prices have edged lower by a few percent since the summer, and with most economists expecting mortgage rates to fall modestly in 2024, market conditions for buyers are arguably the most favorable we've seen in some time in the market, end quote. I love how we
Wow.
bolded here that this is a very, very bold statement, apparently, from a lot of economists. If we have any economists listening to this podcast, I'd love to hear what their thoughts on about this interest rate for 2024.
Definitely, definitely. Now, since Andrew has already, we at the end of our market update, we generally like to provide advices for buyers and sellers. But I think Andrew kind of jumped the gun for us this podcast. So I think to add on to what Andrew said, our advice for buyers is Andrew is totally right. This is the time. You want selections? There's selections. You want different choices? There's different choices. You want to be on the favorable side when you put in an offer? This market is literally it. This is your time. If you're so fed up with multiple offers, you're fed up with you know what? Fine, I'll buy this 7 out of 10 home because I can't find anything else out there. Well, right now there's definitely more options, and you can really take your time and start to negotiate. I just can't see a better environment than what we have right now, honestly speaking. And that's my advice. As a reminder, last year I had a buyer that bought in December when things were just like, oh my God, like, is this the world collapsing? I know they're listening to this podcast. That's why I want to bring it out. We ended up getting a smoking deal for a house in Coquitlam when nobody was doing anything. The interest rate was getting crazy. Christmas is around the corner. Oh, and there was also, like, if I remember correctly, there was a crazy snowstorm last December as well. Right. So because of that, this particular client of ours, we decided to jump on the gun, and even till today, we can confirm that they have bought at the lowest point ever since the government started to raise interest rates. Right. And I think what's happening right now, like Andrew said, because our interest rate is projected to start dropping next year, modestly or not, that this is probably going to be one of the better times to buy real estate, at least for the foreseeable future. Because I posted it on IG, and we've been talking about for a couple of podcasts. If you think that $2 million house right now at current interest rate is expensive, what's going to happen once that interest rate drops? That $2 million house is going to quickly jump onto like 2.3 or even $2.6 million, right? I know there's a lot of fear, and with fear, it comes with a lot of, I don't know what I want to do. But Andrew's right. If you want to do something and you're planning for the long term, I think this is it. This is it right now. Yeah. Anything you want to add?
No, I definitely agree with you because, the numbers don't lie and people do. We always say that. And we've seen firsthand experience from what happens when they drop interest rates. People flood the market, they drive the prices up, and that's been going on for the last 2.5 years. And this is a perfect indication that this is something that might happen. But hey, will the government just like pull the rug out from under us and next year increase the interest rate instead of lowering it? Who knows, right?
Who knows?
So yeah, definitely everyone should just really, really think long and hard and make sure you have important conversations with, with your financial planners, with your spouse, like with your real estate agent, like whoever is involved in this decision-making process. And, don't pull the trigger too quickly, but also, don't sit on the fence for too long or else you're going to miss the boat.
Exactly. Now, before we move on to the seller's advice, because that's generally what we do with the buyers, we quickly move on to the sellers. I think now is important for us to quickly do our own analysis on these numbers, and then what should advise out for the sellers here. Firstly, a couple of numbers that really popped up. The first number that really popped up to me was obviously the sales numbers and the new inventories. Well, specifically where I was thinking that we had a 14.7% decrease in sales activity compared to last month. It sounds scary, but as a reminder, 14.7% decrease in sales activity compared to last month, which is as a reminder that it was actually October was slower than September, and September was slower than August, and August was actually slower than July. What I'm trying to say is we never had a bull market, because with the numbers that's coming out, this basically concludes the end of the fall market. So for a lot of people that was like, oh, we had a fall market. Well, really honestly speaking, the number shows that our full market never came.
No, we just bypassed that and went straight to winter.
Literally, right? And the second number that I want to talk about is the monthly inventory, where we saw 9.8% more than last year, but 28% decrease from last month. 28%, well, 27.77%. It sounds a lot, but what that really means is that sellers are no longer interested into selling anymore. And there's another indication that our full market has completely concluded. And once again, there was no full market. A lot of sellers thought there was a full market, but that full market never came. Right now, the one that really popped up was actually the 5.75 decrease from October 2023 for the total inventory. I'm not talking about the monthly inventory. I'm not talking about sales activity. I'm just talking about total inventory. Why is this important? Well, this shows that not only is the seller holding back from bringing their homes onto the market, a lot of homeowners, because of the slower market, has actually forced themselves to take their homes off the market completely, even if they listed during the full market. That's why you'll see that our inventory new listings shot up, but our total inventory actually went down. That just means a lot of people are like, screw it, not selling, I'm taking this off the market, because they just don't want to keep piling onto and collecting that DOM, is what I wrote. DOM is days on the market, right? And unfortunately, I always say that listings don't age like fine wine. So in order for the seller to protect their asset, they rather not pile those days on the market on their listings. They'd rather just take them off and then maybe try again sometime down the future.
Yeah, I think you actually had a couple of personal clients that did the same thing, right?
Yep. So there's a couple of clients that we were working together with as well that did the same thing. They just thought, hey, Joe, you know what? We tried the fall market, didn't work out. It's okay. Couple of things. I don't want people bothering me around Christmas. I have family coming. It's just nice to be able to travel and stuff like that. And second of all, if there's no activities, then you know what? I'd rather keep my vacations. I would rather keep my holidays, purely for personal. So if it's okay with you, I'm just gonna take this home off the market, and then depending on when the market starts to pick up again, maybe at that time we'll bring the homes out onto the market again. I literally had 2 clients that told me that exact same thing.
Yeah, especially I feel like a lot of investors who are holding on to their investment properties that are mortgage free, what reason would they have to sell? They're still collecting decent rent. It just makes sense. But then if this goes on for long enough, okay, all of a sudden we're in an inventory shortage again, and boop, we do the dance again.
Exactly. I mean, there is risk involved with holding out, because like you said, I was quite optimistic because of the interest rate drop and stuff like that. And then you came in with a kind of like, whoa, well, you never know, right? So this is the thing. It's like, yes, maybe putting on to the next year is a better idea. But obviously, there's always a risk of unknown, just because you just have no idea what the economy or the government is, what they have behind the sleeves.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, are you more pro risk or are you more risk adverse?
Exactly. Now, I think at this point right now, I just wanted to quickly remind people, once again, sellers and buyers, okay? Yes, things are slowing down. That is the fact. But Vancouver is still doing a lot better than other countries, other cities. Like I'll just say it right now. Vancouver real estate right now is doing significantly better than Toronto. significantly better than Toronto, right? So I want to take this time to emphasize, you said a couple of times, I want to just emphasize it. We're in a balanced market, not a buyer's market. Why am I saying this is because not only am I having some sellers recently that just like, oh, Joe, it's okay, we'll just take it off the market, we'll talk about it next spring. I'm also getting a lot of buyers calling me like, hey, I was thinking about wanting to buy something or assignment where I could actually go in at a 10, 20, 25% discount. I had a consultation with or the buyer's like, I'm only buying assignments where if the current owner of that contract doesn't even want the deposit anymore.
Okay. Did you tell them good luck?
Yeah, that's a 25% off discount immediately. And I'm just thinking like, okay, well, you know that I know it's out there maybe, but like this is not like Toronto where people are just forfeiting deposits for no particular reason and then just like, oh, I don't want this anymore, right? It's funny because every time that we get a slowdown, I get calls like this. It's like, find me the deals. No, like don't forget, listings are piling up, but we still have more people moving into the city than people leaving the city, right? So I just want to put that into a reminder for everybody. We're in a balanced market, not in a buyer's market. And because that's going to lead right into our advice for the seller.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have had conversations about this. Obviously, there's a lot of people under a financial stress, either from the interest rate hike, paying way too much rent, variable mortgage rate, or just like their overall financial situation from the slowdown of the economy, right? You walk into a grocery store and you look at everything, there's random things that seemingly have a markup of like 20, 30%. Like, I think I was just like walk by Shoppers Drug Mart and I was like, what? How's this box of cereal like $10? It's not even like something that's like super healthy, organic, all natural or whatever. I think it was like Frosted Flakes or something like that, which is like, whoa. I would say that, my advice is that if you can wait until further confirmation of the rate drop, it might be a little bit more of a beneficial position and for you. And that would be probably the next trigger when the buyers are going to be coming out again, because most people are going to be sitting on the fence and they're going to be like, okay, well, the government is saying this, but we've seen before where the government can change their mind at the drop of a hat. So I'm going to wait a little bit more. Okay, that's fine. But just know that if you guys are waiting, there's also risk associated with waiting.
Exactly.
If you have to sell right now, it's also not the end of the world. Just because Joe said that, oh, people are forcibly taking their homes off the market, blah, blah, blah. I think, again, you just have to have a very realistic conversation about, okay, with your real estate agent, hopefully it's Joe or myself. If you want to sell your home right now, what is the realistic price that it will go for? And is this something that'll fit with your life plans on what's next? Because you do always have to think about what's next. It's not like you sell a home and then, okay, I'm just going to rent, or unless you're moving out of the country, then, hey, if you're selling your house from Vancouver, you're moving to another country to buy real estate, you might actually be in a better position. But this is something that I really, really, really want to stress, is that this slowdown is creating more of a flat price trend. It's not a steep decline. If it does, believe me, it'll be all over the headlines, even more so than it already has in the last year when the media talks about real estate. Looking at the sales to active ratio, it's still at 12.7%, which is indicating a balanced market, not a buyer's market. I think it's just been so long since people have seen a consistent balanced market that automatically people think, oh, fuck, like the real estate market is collapsing. Like, nobody's buying real estate. There's going to be a ton of foreclosures and whatnot. And no, I don't think we're really in that case right now.
Exactly. I think you're absolutely right. Just to add on, I think Vancouver, because especially the last 15 years that I've been in this market, it's just that we're so used to being in the seller's market. Like, Vancouver is the only city where you talk to a seller, you list a home, and their expectation is it will sell in a weekend. Like consistently, like throughout all these years, right? And I think that's been kind of really skewing people's expectation. I think people just need to understand now that, hey, there is a middle ground between a buyer's market and a seller's market called the balance market. And that's actually where we're at right now. And this is actually the area you want to be in because it's for the health of the economy, health for the housing market and stuff like
Yeah, I
that,
mean,
right?
like you're looking at a Venn diagram, it's like, the two circles are intersecting. The balance market is in the middle. That's the sweet spot. That's exactly where we want to be. But two people, we're so used to being on the far right or the far left that people that just don't get it.
Exactly. I guess the next segment I want to take us because like I said, this might be the last market update for 2023 because they don't do a market update in December, I don't think. Why don't we take a little bit of time and it's just to project what we think is going to happen in 2024. So I got some quick questions.
Okay.
We're going to answer individually.
Sure.
I'll go first. You go. It doesn't matter. I'm going to record this. And then maybe at the end of next year, we get to look back on some of the statements that we are making today and make fun of ourselves.
Okay.
Okay. You ready for this?
Sure. I'll go first. You can ask me.
Sure. Let's start with the easy stuff.
Okay.
First question for you is, how many times do you think the Bank of Canada will drop their rates in 2024?
I'm going to go with 2.
2?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write this down. Sorry. Give me a
What
second.
about you?
I think it's going to be 4.
Wow.
I think it's going to be 4.
You think people are suffering that much that the government's finally ready to do that?
I think that Bank of Canada is going to have to buckle to what's happening with the economy. Like, I've been talking to some people that's outside of real estate and outside of Vancouver. And this is the statement that this particular guy said. He was like, you guys in Vancouver are living in such a bubble that you guys have no idea what's actually happening out here. Canada is hurting. That's it. Vancouver seems like it's covering it quite well. But the moment you leave Vancouver, you feel it all over the place. So yeah, that's what I think it's for. Second question for you. I know you said is 2 drops. What do you expect within this 2? Is it 25 basis points each with a total of 50 basis point drop? Or do you think they're going to go hard and go 50 basis points and then go with a full 1% drop 2 times?
I think it's probably more so going to go with like a 0.5 and then maybe a 0.75 to a 1.
Really? That's a steep drop.
Yeah, but we'll see. More likely, they're probably going to do like a 0.25. But then I want to think if they're going to be doing it by a 0.25, they might do 3 or 4. So I think I'm leaning towards you being right. But I'm going to stick with my answer.
Okay. I do 4, and I think it's probably going to end up being the same because when I said 4, I think that every single drop is going to be 25 basis points for a total of 1% drop, total, which is equivalent to what you said, right? So let's see who is more correct on that. 4 for Joe. All right. Here comes another interesting one. Overall prices. Do you expect it to increase or decrease, and by how much percentage? And
did we ever talk about overall price for 2023 compared to 2022? Because we've only been talking about month to month, and it varies month to month.
Let me take a look. Prices. Oh no, we don't talk about the annual things.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that when you were asking this question. I don't think prices will go up or down more than 1 to 2%.
Flat with 1 to 2%. Okay. I think price is gonna go up like 5% next year, man.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I hate to say that. I don't know. I just think that once the news that they're potentially going to start dropping rates, it's just, I think the world's going to go.
You think the frenzy is going to happen again?
I think the frenzy is going to happen again. That's just me. I hope. Honestly, I'm not trying to prove that I'm right. I really hope I'm wrong. I just feel like this is my gut instinct.
Okay.
Next question. What product type will go up the most in percentage? Houses, townhouses, or condos?
Probably condos.
Condos. Okay. I'm thinking it will be townhouses and half duplexes.
Because everyone's going to be upgrading.
I just think that with the interest rate, even if we dropped it by 1%, it is still very heavy for houses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially take a $2 million loan, that's pretty heavy, man.
100%.
Next one. Do you think the city core, like Vancouver city core, will go up more in percentage, or do you think like the suburbs, like Coquitlam, Burnaby, Richmond?
Definitely the suburbs for me.
That's no fun because I agree with you.
I mean, I'm just thinking about my own personal experience and also kind of what we experienced in the last couple of years here.
No, it's okay to have the same answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the easy stuff. That's the stuff that like obviously you guys want to predict that. Let's predict something a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. What do you think will happen to rent next year? Especially after, don't forget about the Airbnb situation in May. Up, down,
up.
How much? Percentage is fine.
10%.
Holy fuck. I think it'll go up. I'm gonna go with like this is hard. This is so hard.
Just go with your gut instinct.
Five. I'm gonna half yours because a 10% increase in rent after what it is already. It's so
extra
my God.
$200. I mean, just look at how much this increased over the last year. Like,
I know.
And what's changing? Yeah, Airbnb is going to release a ton of supply into the rental market. Sure.
I mean, that many supply. We all know that. Mm-hmm. Next question. What do you think will happen to the pre-sale industry next year? Or do you think we're back to the lineup through the doors? Or do you think it'll just kind of truck along and they'll make some sales here and there? Or do you think the pre-sale industry they're not even going to have that many projects coming up and it's just going to be flatline, or it's just going to be slow?
I think they might see like a slight uptick. I mean, from what I've seen with pre-sales, I haven't seen too much activity. It's definitely slowed down for the latter half of 2023. And I mean, pre-sales still aren't cheap.
Yeah, they're not. They're not.
We have this conversation every now and then. It's like pre-sales 10 years ago and compared to pre-sales now, it's like, what? How does it make sense?
Exactly.
But, they still do a very good job marketing to a lot of people, and people still love pre-sales because who doesn't like new? We've had this conversation before, but I think that it's not going to be the lineup out the door. It's not going to be like how it was when I kind of first met you, lining up for like 3 nights outside of
good old memories.
I'll never forget that. That's gonna be a story with me for the rest of my life.
Same. Trust me, that project is gonna live with me forever. Okay, so you said stable sales, like just
relatively stable, I think.
I think so too. I'm gonna write stable sales. Just trucking along, stable sales for Joe. I think back then a pre-sale comes out, they launch, they sell 80%, and they truck along for the last 20% until the building is done. I think it's probably gonna be like they launch and then it's probably going to be like 40% sold, and then they just have to truck along until they get their construction financing till 65%, and then after that they'll bump up the price and then start selling it slowly. I just can't see a project that's going to be released this year or next year or the year after that where, unless the pricing is ridiculous, that they have to I don't see it blowing out within days. Yeah. I know we're running a little short on time. Let's just get into something that's really onto the left field before we conclude the podcast. Out of your wildest imagination, what is this new regulation do you think the city, the provincial government, or the federal government will implement into the real estate industry for 2024?
Maybe they're going to increase density even more.
Oh, okay. Like how?
Well, you talked about the news roundup about the SkyTrain and how they're allowing up to like 20 stories instead of I think it was like 14 or 12 or something like that. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe they're gonna say everything can look like Brentwood and go up to 40 or 50.
Holy.
You want to say something far left field? There you go.
Okay, something really far off from the left field. Parking. I think the provincial government will just let go of parking requirements, period, for any project.
That makes sense. Let the developer do it. And then the first developer that says they're not going to do parking, watch how well it sells. I hope people can sense that that was dripping in sarcasm.
Yes, yes, yes. And lastly, I know we have 2 minutes left. We've been talking on the news roundup about what's happening down in the States. What do you think is going to happen to the real estate, the realtor landscape of things after this class lawsuit in
I don't
2024 specifically? I'm not telling you to predict into the future. I just want you to say what's going to happen to this story in 2024.
No change.
No change.
I think it's too soon for people to try and make a decision on it. They're gonna watch what's happening in the States because we tend to just follow what's going on down there,
Yeah.
and whatever happens, happens. But I don't think for 2024 there's gonna be any change.
Same thing. I think like, yeah, they might push the class action lawsuit, but I think the council is gonna push back, and then we might see a court case in 2024. We might not even see it. We might not even see it until 2025. But regardless, I think we talked about it before. I don't think any of these changes are coming for Canada specifically. It's gonna come anytime soon. So
no, it's definitely a good headline, but yeah,
absolutely. Okay, well, that's it. Last podcast potentially for 2023. Jeff, it was really nice to see you. Let's see each other more once the baby is more stabilized, the family's more stabilized. There's a lot that we need to catch up on. But with that being said, you want to do the last outro for the year?
Yeah. Much appreciation to all our listeners this year. Hope to see you again next year. Once again, my name is Jeff.
And my name is Joe.
We're the Mike for Vancouver Real Estate, and we will see you guys in the new year.
Bye.